That word, let me see, in verse 2, where it says, by this you will know the Spirit of God. The word know comes from the Greek word ginosko, Ginosko. And it actually means to be aware of, to feel, to have knowledge of, to perceive, to be resolved, can speak, to be sure, or to understand. To know the Spirit, to be aware of the Spirit, to be able to feel the Spirit, to have knowledge of the Spirit, to perceive the Spirit, to be resolved that the Spirit is. Can speak. That means that you can speak knowledgeably of the Spirit of God. That you are sure and that you have an understanding. One of the other great tool that the enemy has is the unsurety of believers, of who they are and who God is to them. That's one of the greatest tools that he has. I go onto a car lot, and that salesman can't tell me anything about that car, I'm not likely to buy a car from him. I'm not likely to buy that car from him. I go into a stereo store. This person can't tell me about the speakers that I like. You can't tell me anything about them. Can't tell me about anything about the manufacturer. I'm not likely to buy anything from that store. Right? I don't want anything from that store, because this is the kind of people you hire. I don't want anything to do with that. I go see a doctor, and you can't tell me knowledgeably about what's going on with me. I'm not likely to follow his instructions. He's going to prescribe a medicine. You know what? I'm walking right past that pharmacy. Guess what? I need a second opinion on this. So why do we think that people will be flocking to God because we walking around talking about, well, I really don't know that much about God, but you need to give your life to him. I can't tell you that much about God, but I know that I know what he's done for me, and I know if you can't, I'm not saying sell God, but if you can't present him and make him look like you know him, like you have a relationship with him, how do you expect somebody to come to you? We have to know. Like we know. And what they say back in the day? I know that I know that I know that I know. We better get some knows behind us. Some knows behind us. We have to know the Spirit. In verse 3, he puts it out there. Every spirit that does not confess that Jesus has come in the flesh is not of God. And this is the spirit of the Antichrist. Look who you're working for. It says, which you have heard was coming and is now already in the world. He who is not for me is against me. He who is not for me is against me. There's no gray area. You cannot be on the fence in that regard. We talk about the lukewarm church, the church who's not doing anything, the church that is okay. We got our things. The church at Laodicea, we are all rich. We've all prospered and everything. So we don't need to reach out into the world. We're good to go. We don't need any more members. We're fine how we are. That's lukewarm. But you can't be. You're either for God or you're against God. You either know him or you don't. You're either going to confess him or you're not. He's got to. That's what God wants. He said, I would that you were rather hot or cold, because he can work with hot or cold. Hot. He's going to encourage. He's going to correct where it needs to be. He's going to encourage, push hot on. Cold. If you're cold, he's going to work with you, bring you to the point where you have got to decide, you know what? This God is real, and I need him. Or, you know what? He's shown me, I've seen it, this, that, the other, but I like the world too much. But at least you made a decision. That's what God says. Make a decision. Stand for something. You cannot worship two gods. Hallelujah. You either for God or against him. That spirit that is coming in and telling you, do the easy thing. Telling you, go ahead. Let your emotions run wild. Make this decision based on your anger. Make this decision based on your happiness. Make this decision based on something other than the word. Go ahead. Go ahead. Do you know that that is the spirit of the Antichrist? Because the Antichrist is going to satisfy your flesh. Because the Antichrist is going to, spirit of the Antichrist is going to satisfy anything other than that spirit within you. He's not going to point you to righteousness, not going to point you to holiness, not going to point you to love, not going to point you to the things of God. Now it gets personal. Verse 4. You are of God, little children, and have overcome them, because he who is in you is greater than he who is in the world. We don't put enough stock in that verse. We don't put enough power in that verse. We don't receive that verse for everything that it is saying to us. How do I know that? Because we allow ourselves to look at a situation or a circumstance and say, God, why? Greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. He says, you are of God, little children. Children of God, believers, you are of God. You know who God is. Act like it. You are of him. And have overcome them. You've already overcome the spirit of the Antichrist. You've already overcome the false prophets. Because you know the original. You know the truth. You've already overcome that.